zebras.
do it?
Their names are Timba and Mawinzi. Timba is the one. Now we do have 9 zebra here in our Serengeti, but they do like to group up in 2 different groups.
Wow.
Why don't you ask her?
The end. No, it also counted as waiting. Look at this guy.
Alright guys, so I can have everyone's attention. My name is Lucas. I'll be doing y'all's tour today. I'm with the carnivore department, so everybody up on the preserve is an animal that I take care of. Now before we get started, I have a few things I want to go over. The first part of our tour is going to be in New Serengeti, which is our 26-acre free-roaming habitat. While we were in there, you guys are going to get an awesome chance to feed our giraffes. Now there are a couple ways you can do that. You can pinch your acacia like so, and they will take it up with their tongue. If you'd like to have it flat in your palm, you're more than welcome to do so. We just please ask, put your thumb over it just so it doesn't fly off in the wind, because we don't want you to miss that opportunity. Now, if you are feeling extra affectionate today, you can also put the acacia in your mouth. Well, a big old wet giraffe. You can see that. However, with their heads being so close to the mug bus, I do recommend that you ride. But here at Out of Africa, we started back in 1988. Well, we started a small, privately owned facility right outside Phoenix. But in 2004, we purchased this 104-acre area right here, and on my driver's side to our left, we actually have another 90 acres of space that we plan to build soon and add a couple new species to our collection. But because we have such a large area to work with, we're able to build our habitats very large. In fact, we are one of the few zoos that can safely measure our habitats in acres, not feet and meters, as a lot of zoos tend to do. And all of our habitats are at least 2 acres large. But some of them are quite a bit bigger, some being 3, 4 acres. And our largest habitat is actually our 26-acre free-roaming Serengeti habitat, which we'll be going in shortly. Now, as I come around this bend, I want you guys to take a look out on my driver's side, on my left side. You'll notice we have quite a big habitat right over here. This is actually 6 acres worth of land, and it is to house our largest animal we have here at the park, our southern white rhino, Jericho. Now, like I said, Jericho is a southern white rhino, but we did acquire him from Busch Gardens in Florida. And the reason we acquired him is because even though he is full-blooded southern white rhino, he was a part of a breeding program, and they couldn't find the paperwork proving his lineage, so they couldn't prove that he was 100% southern white rhino. And so for that, they couldn't effectively breed him, and so they talked to us and said, hey guys, do you want a rhino? All you have to do is just pay for shipping and handling. But he has everything he needs to be happy in this enclosure. He's got tons of space, he gets tons of food, and he has a little wallow, not just an area of muddy water for him to kind of roll around in, collect dirt on his body, helps keep the bugs away, also helps keep his skin cool. Now, rhinos are currently endangered, with about 3 being killed per day. And as for southern white rhinos, there are actually only about 20,000 left in the wild. Now, the reason they are killed is for their horns. A lot of people in their native areas in Africa believe those horns have medicinal properties, when in fact, they actually are made of the same material as our skin and as our fingernails and hair. They're made out of a material called keratin. So, really nothing special about those horns, just the beliefs of the areas around them. But as we pull up to the Serengeti habitat, I am going to hop out and get our gate, so you guys just hang on tight and we will be in there shortly. Alright guys, so we are now in our Serengeti habitat, and since we have just entered here, I do want to reiterate, please keep all hands, shoulders, knees, and toes in the vehicle at all time. Please do not attempt to reach out and pet any of our giraffes, and if you happen to lose anything along the way, please let us know. But looks like our giraffes are ready for us. They're over there picking some browse off the top of the tree, so I'm going to go over to them, and hopefully they'll come up and get our browse. And looks like they are interested. So I'll stop right next to them. Once I come to a stop, like I said, guys, feel free to get up, stand up, wave that browse real high. Sometimes it helps to shout their names. Their names are Timba and Mwenzi. Timba is the one currently grazing off the side of the vehicle, and Mwenzi is the one right next to him. Now guys, these two are our only two giraffes here in the Serengeti habitat. However, we do have one other giraffe. His name is Pilgrim, and he is on the other side of the road in our Masai Mara. Now, Timbo and Mwenzi are kind of young. They're actually about 5 years old, both of them. And actually, Mwenzi just recently turned 5. He turned 5 about a few months ago.
Oh, I want to put him to bed, but I'm not going to. Look at how he is.
And you see Mwenzi is looking over at the cat. That's just because he wants treats. But for those of you on my driver's side, Tim is coming around, so keep waving that browse real high. And you guys notice, like I said earlier, he's going to use his tongue to grab that browse. That is because his tongue is what's known as prehensile. They can use it to grab things. It's finger-like. Now, it is also a very dark color. If you guys notice, it is very dark black, almost bluish color. And that is to help prevent against sunburn. These guys are spending about 15 hours a day grazing, and so that tongue helps prevent against sunburn. Now, did anybody not get a chance to feed? Can I get a thumbs up if you did not feed? Alright, can I get a thumbs up if everybody did feed? Alright, perfect. I'm going to keep talking about these guys for just a few more minutes, and then we will head on. Now, for those of you who might have done the giraffe kiss, if you thought it was gross because it was very slimy, their tongue is very slimy, their tongue and their mouth are actually probably more sanitary than ours. And that is because they carry an antiseptic bacteria in their mouth that helps prevent against any sort of illnesses they may get from browsing. Like I said, they spend a long time browsing, and they do eat a lot of sharp things. A lot of the grasses and shrubs that they chew on have a lot of thorns on them. So they may be at risk of puncturing something, and that's why they have such thick saliva. It coats the inside of their throat as well as their tongue, so it helps prevent against that. Now these guys, while they are very tall and they have very long necks, they actually have the same amount of vertebrae as we do. They have 7 vertebrae in their neck, but for obvious reasons, it is a lot larger and longer than ours. And if you look at those things on the top of Mwenzi's head, those are not actually horns. We usually get people ask if those are horns. Those are what's known as ossicones. They're actually calcium deposits. And so those help protect against them when they are necking, which is something they do for territory. It's what I was mentioning earlier. They're basically using their neck and head to swing at the other giraffe, and so it's basically their way of scuffling over territory or potentially a female as well. Well, it looks like our giraffes are moseying on along, so with that, we are going to keep on keeping on. Now you may notice that a lot of the trees here are pretty barren. We do get the question a lot if a fire has come through here. And while we do have fire season here in Arizona, that's actually not what happened. This is a result of that grazing behavior that I mentioned earlier. Like I said, giraffes graze about 15 hours a day, so this is a result of overgrazing. They're just eating a lot of shrubs off the top of the trees. And look over here, looks like we have one of our roan antelope. He is on our passenger side. That is Kijiji. We do have 2 here. We have Kijani and Kijiji. And roan antelope are very special because, as you can see, they have very long ears. So for those of my Harry Potter fans on my mom, we like to call them their Dobby ears.
Yeah. They do look like Dobby ears. Also a little bit like long ears.
Now pull up just a little bit so those in the back can get a good look at them.
That's so cool.
Isn't he handsome?
Look at those.
But we are going to keep on heading on. Going to give him a couple more treats. And what you guys may notice me throwing out is horse treats. So those are for livestock. They're good. They're oatmeal, molasses, and apple. Now, while that does sound good and our hoofstock does love that, it's not very good to us. It doesn't really taste that great to us. It is sort of a ritual for new Serengeti keepers to eat one. couple of our nilgai antelope. These guys are native to India, and their name actually translates to blue cow. And if you're looking at this thing and wondering why is that thing called a cow, that's very clearly not a cow. Well, the reason is because males, once they reach maturity, they are going to gain about twice their weight and turn a very steel blue color. So they look like a big beefed up blue cow. No pun intended. But ours will not reach maturity because they have been fixed. So they're going to stay this tan color for the rest of their lives. However, they're still enjoying it here. In fact, the females are going to stay this color as well. And you'll also see some of our zebra have decided to come up and say hi. And I'm going to try and get them oriented to where you guys can get a good look at them. Now we do have 9 zebra here in our Serengeti, but they do like to group up in 2 different groups. We have these guys, and then we have another group of 4 up ahead, which we like to commonly call the mean girls. And that's just because they like to harass the tour buses because they know they get treats. Hi, yes. You may notice one here up at the front putting his mouth open because he wants treats. This is diligence. This is that zebra I was referring to earlier. She has sort of learned this behavior to come up and ask for treats. Now, zebra are known for their iconic stripes, and we do get the question if they are white with black stripes or black with white stripes. Well, if you look at their noses and the tips of their hooves, they actually have black skin. So if we were to shave them down, they would have black skin. And so they grow both white and black stripes. Now those stripes do serve several purposes. For one, it helps keep the bugs away. For another, it's how we identify them. Each zebra stripe pattern is unique to that individual. So it's kind of like telling your kids apart by their fingerprints. Now, those stripes do serve for protection, the purpose of protection. Out in the wild, if these guys are ever being tracked by a predator, they are going to roam in big herds for protection. Now, they can be in herds of anywhere from a couple thousand to up to 1 million. And so with that, when they are all running together, running away from a predator, it's really hard to tell zebras apart when they're all running together. Their stripes create a sort of mirage. And so it's hard for that tiger, I'm sorry, not that tiger, it's hard for that predator to seek out one individual animal. But I'm going to keep throwing them their treats because it looks like we are in a bit of a traffic jam. Those do happen here in the Serengeti. These guys do love their treats, and they will block the vehicle to get those. Now, fun fact about zebras, well, not really fun fact, but interesting fact about zebras, they are actually responsible for the most zookeeper injuries. And that is because most people underestimate them. They look at these guys and think that they're basically giant blue, or they think they're just striped horses. When in fact they're actually closer related to donkeys than they are horses. And so because of that, they do have very strong bites, as well as very strong kicks. And so more often than not, people get too close, or they just don't pay attention around them, and they may get a little kick.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And now coming up on my passenger side, you will notice we have some of our Asian water buffalo. Now these guys have been domesticated in Asia for over 5,000 years. Then, in Asia, they are used for dairy and cheese production. Now, does anyone on my tour think they have had Asian water buffalo dairy? By raise of hands. No? Nobody? Okay. Who on my tour has had pizza and loves pizza? Quite a lot of people, right? So, you have probably had Asian water buffalo dairy. Their dairy makes up for about 60% of the mozzarella cheese produced here in the United States. So anything from cheese sticks, mozzarella sticks, pizza, a lot of Italian food that commonly uses mozzarella, they have Asian water buffalo dairy in it. Now, you guys may notice they do not have a lot of hair on them. So with that, that's kind of how they get their name. Because they spend so much time in water, the water helps prevent against bugs and sunburn. And so oftentimes, they're going to spend most, if not the entire day in the water. They really won't leave that water for any reason, not even to use the bathroom.
Where's the water?
We do have a little water area for them, and so as you guys can imagine, we have to clean that quite often because they do use the bathroom in it a lot. Now, you can actually tell the difference between the males and the females based off their horns. If you look at the male here, he's the one closest to my end, he's the one on the far right. He's got those very long, outstretched, wide horns. The female is the one that is closest to the log itself. She's right here. She's quite pretty, and she's got those very short, curved horns. And that's actually how you tell them apart. But we're going to keep heading on to our Watusi cattle.
Oh, the giraffe
guys here on my passenger side, we're going to pass by them kind of quickly, just because when they get up, they sometimes will knock the bus with their horns, and we don't need any more broken windows. But these are our Watusi cattle. These guys are commonly called Texas Longhorns, however they do not like that name, and that is because they are native to Africa, not Texas. These guys are named after the Watusi tribes in Africa, and in Africa, they are used as a status symbol. So, they're used as sort of the way of saying, haha, I have more money than you. And here in Africa, we do only have 3, so I would say we are about middle class. And there is my second group of zebra. These guys are the mean girls. They will often block the box because they just know we got treats. They know we got the horse treats, so they'll often block us off. But we are going to keep on moving on, and we're actually going to go to our largest bird we have here at the park. Our 2 ostriches, Cascabel and Samocha. Now, as we get over there, you guys may have noticed that we pulled out the area we were driving through. It was kind of sandy, really dusty. That is because it is known as a wash. What that is for is we do get monsoons here in Arizona, and so we build these little washes in the habitats so that when the water comes through, it doesn't flood them. The water is able to get in and out without flooding the whole habitat. And we have those going through each habitat just to make sure none of our habitats get flooded, especially down here. We are sort of downhill, so a lot of the water from the preserve comes down in here. And guys, as we pass on by, we're going to pass on by a couple of our water buck. These guys are relatively new, actually. We just got these guys a few days ago, with the exception of Koba, our male. Koba, our male, we've had for quite some time, but if you guys look on my driver's side, you'll notice we have a couple of new females. So these guys have acclimated pretty well to being around each other, and looks like they're really enjoying each other's company. But looks like we have a couple of our ostriches coming up. Like I said, these guys' names are Sriracha and Cascabel. I'm actually going to hop out and talk to you guys about them here in just a second. And Cascabel is the male. Now you may notice the male is significantly darker than the female, and that does serve a purpose. Out in the wild, the females are going to be the ones that sit on the nest, right, during the day, because they blend in with the dirt, whereas the males are going to sit on the nest at night because they blend in with the night sky. Now you may also notice that our male Cascabel does have a very pretty pink beak. Out in the wild, the males are going to be the ones that dress up, put on their lipstick on, and try and impress the females. They also do a funny little dance. I will try and mimic it. It does not look very appealing at all. But what they will do is they put their head real down, they whip up their feathers, and they kind of do like this. And I guess that attracts the ostrich females, because I've tried it on human females. It doesn't really work that well. Now, these guys are some of the fastest land animals on Earth. Can anyone tell me what the fastest land animal on Earth is? The number 1 is? Cheetah? Cheetah? Correct. Cheetahs can run anywhere from 60 to 75 miles an hour. These are just little bird treats for them. Little cookies. Now these guys can run about 55 miles an hour at top speed. But where they differ from cheetahs is cheetahs can only maintain that speed for about a minute or 2. They're very short bursts of energy. These guys can run, like I said, at top speeds of 55 miles an hour. They can maintain that speed for up to half an hour. They just keep running and running and running. Now, you may notice, they're very food motivated, but also, they have very large eyes. They do have some of the largest eyes of any terrestrial animal, and they have a very small head. Now, with large eyes and a small head, doesn't leave much room for a brain, right? So what often will happen is they're going to run, they're going to keep running, they're going to keep running, and then they're going to turn around to see what was chasing them because they completely forgot. They forgot what predator was chasing them.
So talking about you.
So if they happen to turn around and see a leopard or a lion or a hyena chasing them, they're going to use those massive feet with those 3-inch long talons to kick that animal, disemboweling that animal. Their kick is strong enough to disembowel a full-grown lion, and if you're not quite sure what that means, it means all your insides will no longer be inside of you. So it's not really a good state to be if you're a lion. But another cool fact about those feet, sort of a personal fact that I think is really cool, they were actually the model for the raptors in Jurassic Park. You guys may see we do have a couple of eggs over there for them. Those are not their eggs, they're fake eggs. We do not have the permits to have 3 ostriches, so we don't want them mating. So we kind of have to fool them into thinking they're already mating. We put fake eggs so that Sriracha here sees them and thinks, oh, I already have eggs, I don't need to lay any more, so she just won't lay any more. Yep. Now, of course, every now and then she will lay an egg, right? Because she still does produce them in her body. But she does not actively lay eggs. She's not trying to eat more to lay eggs. Sometimes they just kind of happen. So when that happens, we will hollow it out because he actually cannot fertilize them. We'll hollow them out and then sell them in the gift shop. And as you guys can tell, these guys are pretty tall. They can get up to 7 feet tall. Even taller. For reference, I am 6'2", and she is a head taller than me.
And they have bottomless pits.
Yes, as most animals do. You will notice that a lot of our animals are bottomless pits. Alright.
So they look forward to this, huh?
Yeah.
The tours.
Yep, they love these tours.
Oh,
Do you have any more questions on these two or just ostriches in general? Alright, we're going to keep on moving before they get ready. So expect you to the next 2 are so that was Sriracha and Cascabel. Now, like I said, we're going to be moving on, and we are going to see our next group of animals, our 3 Addax antelope. Now, Addax are native to the Sahara Desert, and their name is spelled basically how it sounds, A-D-D-A-X. Now, they are a bit ways off on the other side of the fence, so I'm going to tilt the log around just a little bit, so hopefully everyone can get a good chance to look at them. Now, like I said, these guys are native to the Sahara Desert. And with that, they are perfectly well adapted to living in desert climates. They can go up to a year without drinking any water at all. They're going to get most of their water from the vegetation that they browse on. A lot of the leaves and grasses that they browse on have water inside of them, and that's where they get their water from. Now, these guys are not only very well adapted to living in the desert, but they are also very endangered. Back in 2016, they did a survey just to see how many of these guys were out in the wild. There were only 3. There were 3 out in the wild. But due to conservation efforts in wildlife parks and zoos, we've been able to bring that number up to about 140 as of 2020. So they are slowly making a comeback, however, they are still very much endangered. Now, the reason they are endangered is because if you look at our 2 males on each side of the female, they have those very pretty corkscrew horns. That makes them a very tempting prize for trophy hunters. And so that's kind of what happened. A lot of their species were hunted from trophy hunters, as well as the local military was hunting them for food as well. But of course, since then we have put restrictions on them and legalization so that they cannot be hunted. And just like with the Asian water buffalo, you can tell the difference between the males and the females based off their horns. So like I said, the males have those 2 corkscrew horns. You'll see them on either side of the female. And the female has just very short, little curved horns on top of her head. But I'll give you guys just a few more seconds to look at them, take any pictures if you need to, and we're going to head on to my personal favorite antelope we have here at the park. Alright guys, here we go. These are our sable antelope, and they're actually right here at the edge of the fence. Now, not only are these guys my personal favorites, they are also our most dangerous antelope. They are known as lion killers in their native areas. And the reason for that is if you look, they have those very sharp, very large horns. Now, those horns are used for defense. In the wild, if these guys are being chased by a predator, typically one sable is going to split off from the herd, make itself look vulnerable. They may even limp a little bit to kind of help sell it. And so when that happens, the predator is going to chase after that vulnerable animal, or what it thinks is to be the vulnerable animal. And when that happens, the sable is going to slow down a little bit, that predator is going to keep chasing them. They're going to get to the point where they're going to pounce, right? Once they get to that point of no return, the sable is going to turn around, drop to its knees, and expose its antlers. And then, because that animal cannot stop, it basically becomes a lion shish kebab. And afterwards, that sable is going to throw its head back and drop that animal off. Otherwise, it might have a nice lion headdress. But that is not actually the reason we have them separated. The reason we have them separated is they do have a pretty young buck in there. He's only about 6 months old. And so with that, the zebras don't really like baby animals that aren't theirs, so they may feel inclined to bully that animal. And so with that, we just keep him separated at least until he is fully grown, and then we will work on integrating him back out into the Serengeti. And looks like we got a couple new friends here. Our zebras have come up. These guys do really love these cookies. There you go, guys. And with that, we're going to keep on moving forward. Now, our next animal you guys are going to see is actually not livestock. It's one of our tigers. Right here next to the sable, you'll actually see we do have a couple of tigers. Their names are Exodus and Equinox. And they're actually our two youngest tigers, or at least that's where their habitat is. Our little pellet barn over there, that's for our giraffes to go in during the winter time, just because it's nice and warm, so it's not as, they don't have to be out here in the cold, because it does get pretty cold here. Most people don't realize how cold it actually gets around here in the winter. But our next animals who we are going to see are our Barbary sheep. These are otherwise known as Aoudad, spelled I-O-U-D-A-D. Like I said, these guys are known as Barbary sheep, and they are perfectly well adapted to living on these sharp cliff lines. Very steep area. A lot of people think they are at risk of falling, but in fact, they are very good at gripping these rocks. Their hooves are a lot spongier than most other animals, or most other hoofstock, so they work well at helping grip the rocks in their native habitats, like I said, the Barbary Coast. Now, not only are they able to walk around on these rocky cliffs and rocky edges, but they also are good at camouflaging in them as well. Oftentimes these guys will basically lay down and tuck their head in, and they look like a big rock. So predators don't even know that they're there. And just like with our Asian water buffalo as well as our addax, these guys are able to tell the gender apart between their horns. So we do have our male right here out in front of us, and that's because he's got those large, very curved horns. But if you look on my far left, you'll see our female. She's got a lot smaller, thinner horns, and they're a lot less curved. Now they do have that little patch of hair around their neck. That does help serve as protection, because if an animal does try and go for the neck, some sort of predator, they're going to get a mouthful of fur as opposed to a mouthful of neck. And looks like our Serengeti keepers are currently feeding some of our hoofstock. You may see them driving around in that pickup truck dropping off hay. But I'm going to throw these guys a couple more treats, and then we are going to head on out of here. Now with that, like I said, we're going to head on out to Serengeti, but I want to thank you guys for coming out and checking out the Serengeti, and congratulations on getting to do that giraffe feeding experience. These guys are not trained, so anything they do is completely up to them whether or not they want to do it. And so the fact that they came up, said hi, got to feed you guys, or you guys got to feed them, is really, really cool. And you guys got to see all the herds we had here in the Serengeti. But you'll also see on my pasture side some of our zebra. They're currently feeding on hay. Like I said, we're about to feed them their lunch, so everyone's getting their protein or getting their food for the day. And then on my driver's side, we are going to pass by, but you're probably not going to see her. We do have a mountain lion habitat. We got a mountain lion in there named Libby. She's very, very shy, so she really doesn't come out until the afternoon, usually at night. So every now and then, we might see her, shadow. We're going to hop out, get these gates, and we're going to get out of here. I said, congratulations on getting through the Serengeti and getting to see all the herds we had available for you guys to see. Now, we have seen a lot of hoof stock right now. So, who is ready to see some carnivores? Woo! I got one hand up. Alright, we're going to go stop by those two tigers I mentioned earlier, Exodus and Equinox, and we're going to go and say hey. And as we pass on by Jericho's habitat, we might see him, so just keep your eyes peeled. He might also be in his little cabin there. He's got everything he needs to stay happy in there. He's got food, water, plenty of AC. Looks like he is not out and about right now. But here at Out and About, we do have 37 large carnivores. We have 12 tigers, 11 lions, 4 black bears, 4 gray wolves, 2 mountain lions, 2 leopards, a grizzly bear, and a hyena. Hey guys, just have a real caution. It's going to be a little bumpy going up this hill, so just keep safe. But if you look around, you may notice we have a bunch of towers out here. Those are for our raptor racing zipline opportunity. It's a cool opportunity for you guys to get a bird's eye view of some of the animals here at the park. You guys literally get to zipline over the enclosure, so it's really cool thing to see. Well, it looks like our tigers are already ready for us. They want to come say hi, so we're going to stop by and say hi to Exodus and Equinox.
I follow some on TikTok.
What do you have for them?
Us.
So these are our two tigers, Exodus and Equinox. Now, tigers are the largest of all the cats. They are in the category of big cat, which contains lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars. They are the largest. Siberian tigers can reach up to 800 pounds. However, all the tigers we have here at the park are Bengals, which can get anywhere from 350 to 450 pounds. These guys are about 350. They are just turned 3 years old, so they're still growing. They won't be fully grown until around 4 or 5. But with that being said, they are still really big, and these guys can get anywhere from 7 to 9 feet tall. Like I said, I am 6'2", so I'm gonna stand these guys up so you guys can see just how tall they are compared to me. All right, Exodus, Equinox, what's up, boys? You guys ready?
Wow. That's wild. Wow. Yeah, they get taller than
So
that.
you guys see how just how tall these guys
That's interesting. They don't
Now,
look that
just
tall.
like with our zebra, our stripes are how we tell them apart. But unlike our zebra, if we were to shave these guys down, their stripes would actually be imprinted on their skin, so you can still see those stripes.
Oh.
Now, for example, Exodus here, notice how he's got these little crescent moons on the top of his head? Whereas Equinox over there, he has more of oblong oval shapes on the top of his head. So that's how we tell them apart. Also, Equinox tends to just have bigger eyes, and he's just more friendly.
Can't you
Now,
tell?
these guys were raised here. They were not born here. We don't really do any breeding with our carnivores, but they came to us from a zoo in New York. And they came to us as cubs, so they've been raised here by their keepers, and they've been doing Tiger Splash ever since they were young. It's actually really cute. My manager shows me old videos of them doing Tiger Splash when they're like this big, and it's the cutest thing to watch a little tiger jump in the pool and get really excited.
They're talking to you.
They are. They're saying I want more food. Now, being that these guys are in the big cat subcategory, they can roar, right? They can roar. All big cats can roar. However, big cats cannot purr. And that's the difference between big cats and small cats. Small cats can't roar, but they can purr. So the way their vocal cords are set up. However, while these guys can't purr, they do make another noise, a very affectionate noise. It is called a chuff. It's their version of saying, hey, what's up, buddy? It's a greeting. It's a good thing. So it kind of sounds like this. Sounds like sometimes go. So I'm gonna try and get them to chuff. I'm gonna stick you real quick just so you guys can hear that. Exodus.
There it is.
Now, those stripes do serve several purposes. Like I said, they are used for identification. That's how we identify them. However, they're also used for camouflage. Out in the wild, these guys are going to use those stripes to blend in to the grassy shrubs in their native habitats. Now, if you're looking at this orange and black tiger and wondering how that thing blends in with grass, well, that is because a lot of the prey that they hunt is actually colorblind. They don't see that as orange and black, they see it as black and white, as they do with everything. So their stripes are very important to helping keep out predators or getting in the prey. And do I have any more questions or any questions on these guys or just tigers in general? Do you have a question? Of course.
What's up, buddy?
What's your question?
Why tigers roar?
That's a really good question. So all cats use their vocalization for different things. Lions use their roar to mark their territory. Tigers, they roar for intimidation. It's usually a way of saying, hey, get away from me, or that's mine, I want that. They can do it, it can be a possessive thing or just a get back thing. Yeah. Sometimes they will roar to mark territory, but it's just not as often as other cats. However, how they do mark their territory is by spraying. They will spray urine on trees and on posts and stuff like that to mark their territory. They will sometimes spray their keepers. It's not fun. And weird fact that I hate having to admit, but it does taste like buttered popcorn. Yes. So you have a question back there?
So if they, okay, so why do they have to be so tall?
Like, why do they grow so tall, I think?
Well, that's because a lot of the animals that they hunt are very big. In fact, some of the animals we saw in the Serengeti are prey items of these guys. Those aged, yeah, they have to jump, get on those guys, and they're going to usually kill their prey by biting it on the neck. So they have to get to where they can get to that neck. So the nilgai and the Asian water buffalo would be prey items to these guys. But if that does it for our questions, I'm going to stand them up real quick. So if you guys want to get a picture of that, feel free. And we're going to move on to our next cat. All right, boys. One more time for the cameras. Where's your brother? Equinox.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. Wow.
You're missing a few. There you go.
Sorry, my hand's by your head.
All right, guys. Alright guys, give it up for Exodus and Equinox. Now, like I said, our next cat is a female lion or lioness. Her name is Cora. But we have a bit of a ways before we get to her, so I'm going to speed up just a little bit, get the airflow back there. You guys just sit back and relax. I may go over a few more things on our way over there, but yeah, just relax and enjoy the ride. Now, we do often get the question as keepers, how do we get into this line of work, right? Because it's not like you can really go on Indeed and look up tiger handler, right? So it's really not that difficult. A lot of us went to college, and through college we found connections, we met people, did a lot of volunteerships and internships. Me personally, I did not go to college. I actually started working with dogs and cats straight out of high school, and since then I've done a lot of volunteering and interning at different zoos. I even worked at a vet clinic for a while, for about a year and a half, and just through knowing people and constantly working, I was able to land a seasonal position at my local zoo, and one of my coworkers actually used to live out here and work here, so he was able to introduce me to the managers at the time, and I was able to make my way out here. But that is a lot of how we do start. Now, we do have a guy here named Tony, and he actually started as our meat manager, so he was totally in charge of diets. However, as people come and go, we do like to train everybody on every aspect of the job, just because it's nice to have a well-rounded team. And so he eventually learned after 12 years, he was able to start doing Splash, and he was actually one of the guys you guys saw in Splash today. Now, it is a perfect day to be here since it is cooler and cloudy. A lot of our animals are out. You will see Ted, our male lion, right there over on his little perch. He is actually our oldest lion we have here at the park. And we got him from MGM Casinos in Las Vegas. He was related to the lion that roars at the beginning of movies. That's his great-great-great-granddad. But on my driver's side, you will see Cora as she's walking up. And I'm going to hop out, and talk to you guys about Miss Cora. Hi, sweetheart.
Women look so much better than
Who wants to You do, that's my girl.
Wow.
It's a big scratchy. Now this is Cora. She is our largest lioness we have here at the park. She is well over 400 pounds. She's a big girl. Now you may notice as I'm petting her, I'm always keeping my eye on her head. Even though these guys do love pets and they will come up for pets, you can never be too safe. I want to go home with all my fingers, so I always keep an eye on that head in case she turns her back on me. But out in the wild, lionesses are going to be the ones that do most of the hunting. These guys are going to live in groups or prides of anywhere from 15 to 20 animals. Now that usually consists of mostly females and maybe 1 or 2 males. Now, like I said, out in the wild, females are going to do most of the hunting. And it's not because the males are lazy, it's actually because the males are going to stay back and they are going to protect the territory. They're going to mark their territory. They're going to keep an eye on the cubs, stuff like that. They will often roar to mark their territory, and that roar can be heard up to 5 miles away. And usually in the afternoon, Ted is always the one who starts the jibber jabber, but he will start roaring, and then Jabu Jabari start roaring, and then Amani Ascari start roaring, and it's just a cacophony of roars at night. And if you're standing next to him, you can literally feel your bones shaking from that. But not only are they going to spray like tigers to mark their territory, they will also do something where they will directly pee on the ground, then they'll step in it. So as they're walking the perimeter of the territory, their scent is constantly being tracked around. So it's kind of a cool way for them to mark it without having to just spray all the time. Now, these guys are the second largest of all the big cats. They're right behind tigers. In fact, some male lions can get even as big as tigers. Male lions can reach up to 550 pounds. And with that added weight, they will sometimes join in for hunts when they're taking down larger prey items such as Cape buffalo, baby giraffes, stuff like that, because that extra weight is going to help bring that animal down. Now, these guys have a bite force of about 1,000 psi, which is very, very strong. We have one animal here who can bite stronger than that. I'm actually going to get to that whenever we see her later. Now, if you guys look at her feet, and her little tummy here, you'll notice she does have spots. And that is because male or lions in the wild, baby lions are born with spots. It helps them blend in. But they often lose those as they get older. Females will retain them a little bit, more so in the legs. And that noise you guys are hearing right now is our leopard. That is Enoch right over there, being Enoch. He does that a lot.
Did I see a Black Panther or something?
So that was Enoch. Yep, that was our one and only black leopard. I'm sorry, we actually have 2. We have Enoch, and then we have Silhouette. Now I don't often stop by him just because he just doesn't like coming out. But every now and then he'll sissy.
The house cat.
Are you peeing over there, girl? You had to stop and take a potty break. I understand. You guys have any questions on lions or in general? Yes, what's your question?
He's full of them.
Oh, that's okay. I love answering questions.
Lions grab on toys.
I'm sorry?
I said, what's lions grab toys?
Why do lions grab toys? Do they play
Yeah,
with
that's
them?
a great question. So that's actually a form of enrichment for them. Enrichment is just something that helps them function in captivity. It makes their lives more exciting. So as you see, we do have a pumpkin for her that she has graciously carved herself. And that is a toy for her. She's going to roll it around, claw at it, drool on it, stuff like that. We'll even use toys such as balls, or basically anything you guys saw in Tiger Splash, stuff they can shred up like boxes. We'll put scents in them because these guys are very scent oriented. We might put some cinnamon, pumpkin spice, stuff like that. At my old job, we used a lot of Old Bay. Cats really love Old Bay. Just sit there and drool all over it. Exactly. Now they also do this thing which is known as a phlegm response. And what that is the organ in the roof of their mouth, known as the Jacobson's organ. You may have heard of it if you know about snakes. They have it just as well. It helps them catch scent. So they basically will lick a scent and bring it up to the roof of their mouth, and they will do what is called a stinky face. They basically curl their lips back and just like, it's really funny. Cora, you want to come back and say hi, or are you tired of us? Now you may have noticed I didn't bring the meat out for her, and that is because Cora is a princess, and princesses do not like when people watch them eat. So she will often growl at people when we have food in front of her. Usually it's on feeds. Like if we're doing a feed, we'll basically bring out a roast and be like, hey guys, I'm going to throw this to her, and I'm going to keep on going because she will not like it if we stand here and watch her.
She growling?
Yep, she is very food possessive. That's just sort of a lion thing. because of that pride mentality, there's the mentality of I gotta eat what I can before someone else takes it. So they are very possessive for food, they're very grumbly at food, and they're very quick when it comes to getting food. My old job, we hand fed. Here we usually throw it over. But I have had more than one occasion where I have had tiger or mostly lion lips curl around my finger. Almost lost it. It's very
Scary.
It's very enlightening. You go, oh, that's still an animal that can bite my finger off.
By accident, I'm sure.
By accident. Oh yeah, it's always by accident. But does anybody have any more questions on these guys? Yes, what's your question?
Why do her hands go in like that instead of?
Oh, when they're laying down? That's a great question. It could just be a comfort thing. She just likes having them like that. It also could be when they eat, they do have their paws like that to kind of keep it towards them. So it could just be like something she does normally and she keeps doing it. And there goes our water truck. That was Cora. Now, as we keep on pulling forward, if you look out my driver's side, you will notice we have our reptile resort right next to us. And that is where we keep all of our scaly friends, our large lizards, snakes, and tortoises. Now, if you're not too fond of those types of animals, I still recommend going. Those keepers are extremely knowledgeable about the animals they take care of, and it's also air conditioned in there, so it does kind of help as well. But we also have a few more cat enclosures up here, but we do have a lot of older cats here, so they typically like to hang out in their den and just relax, sleep the day away. Now our next enclosure, although the animal may not be out and about, I still like to point it out because this is, on my driver's side, our bear enclosure. This is where we have our grizzly bear, Cypress. Now we are getting into the colder months, so she has been getting ready for hibernation. So she's been doing a lot more sleeping during the day. Now while other zoos don't really like to let their bears hibernate, we do because it is a natural behavior, and we want to make sure these guys are as natural as possible, at least as possible as we can get them. And you may notice we are passing under a little bridge. That is actually a corridor where we keep a lot of where we let a lot of our animals walk out and about. That's how we move them from their enclosure to the Tiger Splash arena. And so we're able to basically walk with them in that corridor all the way down to the arena. If not, we do have a couple of transport trucks that we are able to use to bring those guys out. But I am going to turn on my left and talk to you guys about Chippa and Sage. And on my driver's side, you will see Chippa. She is our one and only hyena. And on my passenger side, you will see Sage. He is our beautiful mountain lion.
That's wild.
So this is Chippa. She is our one and only, absolutely gorgeous, stunning spotted hyena. Spotted hyenas are the largest of the 4 hyena species. You have your spotted, your brown hyena, your striped hyena, and your barred wolves are actually the second worst being called.
Let's go.
Now, spotted hyenas do have another name. They're often called laughing hyenas. Now, it's not the sort of ha-ha-ha that we do. It's not because something's funny. It's actually not really a noisy funny. Because it's very exciting noise. It's very interesting. Hey guys, check this out. I found something really cool. These guys can live in groups of anywhere from 70 animals. They're often called cackles, is what their groups are called. And they use that to communicate with each other. They have to communicate, right? It's like some big groups. So they will laugh if they see something interesting or exciting, or if they're being possessive. They make a big kill. They're all going for it, trying to eat. They may laugh to let each other know, hey, that's my piece, don't take that piece. So I'm going to try and get Chippa to laugh. Unfortunately, though, she is a female, and I've never really been good at making women laugh. But Chip, 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 chip. You guys might have heard that little bit of a noise. That was basically her laughing. She laughs a lot more with her other keepers. They're pretty new. So she hasn't felt as possessive over me. Now, Chippa does another noise, which is called a moo. And that is a very positive. It's a lot like the tiger chuck. It's their way of being communicating nicely to their fellow hyenas. So I'm going to real quick see if I can get Chipper to move. She does really love children, so I'm going to point out a couple of our kids and see if she will move. All right, Chip. Potato Chip. Look at children. Children. You love children. You going to move for the kids? No? She's going to stare at me because you know I have food? Well, she does move. She'll also often whoop at night. That's another way they mark their territory, is by whooping. Now, Chippa is our oldest carnivore. She's actually 23 years old. She's actually older than I am. We got her when she was just a few months old with her mate Chitabe. Unfortunately, about a year and a half ago, he did pass away. And because she really hasn't had that much, she hasn't had another hyena to communicate with, she doesn't really she doesn't whoop and laugh as often as she should. Aww. Now, she is one of the few animals we do not go in with. And there's a very good reason why. These guys work on a very militant society. Every hyena knows its place in the clan and knows what they do. Very structured. Her being the dominant female, she has to let everyone know what their place is and what her rules are. Unfortunately, I do not speak hyena, so I do not know her rules. So if we were to go in and we did something that was breaking one of her rules, she has to let us know. The way they let us know is by biting us. Unfortunately, these guys have the strongest bite of any terrestrial animal.
Wow.
It's about 2,000 psi, so twice that of a lion. It's enough to snap a giraffe's femur bone in half. If you're not really sure what a femur bone is, it's this bone right here. It is not meant to break. It's actually one of the measures of being strong and steel in some places. These guys can break it.
Wow.
He's getting a little bored of us. That's better much. So I'm going to give him one last piece and I'm going to talk about Sage. Oh, wait, does anybody have any questions on it?
Sage's eyes are intense, huh?
Yep, Sage is very vocal, and what he's doing is what's known as a screech. So, guys, you ready? I'm gonna try and get him to shoot a screech one more
Oh,
time.
I'm sorry. No, my fault. Go ahead.
Sage! Sage! So, Sage is one of our two mountain lions. He is a male as well. Libby is our female. Now, we don't really like showing Libby off because she's just really shy. In fact, in the 4 months I've worked here, I've only seen her once. And it was her on the top of a hill, and I could barely see her silhouette. Sage, however, does love people. He is very sociable, and he loves his keepers that we go in with him. So, Sage was actually found in Cornville, which is about 6 miles that way. Do I have any Arizona natives here? You guys? All right. Yeah, so Sage was found about 6 miles that way in an area called Cornville. And when he was in Cornville, he was found eating cat food off of people's porches as a cub. So the people of Cornville called Fish and Wildlife and said, hey guys, we have a mountain lion here. What do we do about this? Fish and Wildlife said, just give it a few days. The mob should be coming by, pick him up any day now. Don't even worry. Well, they waited as long as they could, and it became very obvious that the mother was no longer in the picture. They don't know exactly what happened, they just know she's not around anymore. So they called us and said, hey, you guys have room for a mountain lion? I said, of course we do. Right here is about 2.5 to 3 acres of space for him. We've got plenty of space to run around in. Now, mountain lions have one of the largest range of any of the cats. Now, these are small cats. They're in the subcategory of small cats. So she can purr. And I'm going to stop talking for just a minute just so you guys hopefully hear that purring. See? You guys hear that purring? Mm-hmm. A little bit, maybe? Good boy. So yeah, these guys can purr. They can also make all sorts of noises. They can screech, as you guys have already heard. They can meow. They can also chirp. So if you are ever out in the woods and you hear a chirping sound, you're not quite sure what it is, it might be a mountain lion. We do have about 4,000 here in the state of Arizona. Just in these mountains alone, we have up to a couple hundred. Like I said, they have the largest range they have one of the largest ranges of any of the cats. They can range from Canada all the way to the tip of South America. So with that, many different people have seen these guys, and they have about 50 to 60 different names for them. I do not know them all, unfortunately, but you do have your common ones. You have your puma, mountain lion, cougar. If I have any southeastern natives, I'm sure you've heard Florida panther, ghost cat, screech cat. We get the name ghost cat because they're so shy. They are notoriously good at basically getting away from people. A lot of times if you're out in the woods hiking, they'll know you're there before you even know already out of there. Or what happens a lot of times is you're out hiking with your friends, you see a mountain lion, you go, hey, there's a mountain lion there, and it's already gone. But their paw pads are also extremely cushioned. It's good for silencing their walking. So if they're out hunting, stalking prey, they're going to get all the way to the ground. They're basically going to get their tummies on the ground and very silently walk up to that prey. And those paw pads help muffle that sound. So I'm going to throw a piece of food for Sage, and hopefully you guys will get a chance to see just how quiet it is when he runs off of that. Sage! Don't run into a bush this time. You guys see how quiet it is, right? Yeah. These guys can cover an area of about 15 meters in under 40 seconds.
Wow.
They are very.
And what do they hunt for?
In their native areas, they're going to hunt for a lot of deer, some small animals, like they may catch like a raccoon or something, but mostly deer and antelope.
Yeah.
Out here, they could also get javelina because that's just a native wildlife out here. Now, sage is the normal color that most mountain lions are, that tan color that helps them blend in with a lot of the dirt areas that they are around. However, mountain lions can be anything. They can be cinnamon color. They can sometimes be almost a grayish red. Yep, they can also be very blonde as well. Now, these guys can get up to about 150 pounds. They can range from anywhere from 90 to 150 pounds. Sage here is a bit of an exception. People love seeing Sage, so we often visit him on tours, which means he gets a lot of snacks. So he's a little chunkier, a little on the chunky side. He's about 170 in the wintertime.
Wow.
Now, if you guys look, he's got that flap of skin. That is what is known as a primordial pouch. That helps add extra space for them to eat and hold food. Out in the wild, these guys are going to eat about 20 to 25% of their body weight, as pretty much all of our cats would in the wild. However, we do not do that in captivity. The reason for that is because if we were to feed them that full diet they would get for the week, he would go in his den and we would never see him again. He would basically sleep it off for the rest of the week. And it's important that we get eyes on these guys every day to make sure they're a healthy weight. There's no scratches, cuts, no bites, anything like that. So it's good that they're willing to come up and say hi, give them a couple of treats. Now, that's not to say that we starve them, of course. We've split their diet 3 ways. So we give them a third of their diet on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. All right, Sage. You tired of us? I see you looking over there. Are you looking at Chippa? Do you have any more questions on Sage or just mountain lions in general?
She's cute.
Really, really cool. I actually, that's perfectly fine. At my old job, I actually raised baby mountain lions. And just like with lions, when they're cubs, they're actually spotted and they lose those spots as they get older.
Oh.
They also have blue eyes, which they lose as they get older. They're also little menaces when they're young because they are children that soon go from 5 to 10 pounds to 20 to 40 in like a 3-month time span, and they still want to jump on you.
Do people ever try to keep them as pets, like locally?
I don't know about locally, but they do try and keep them as pets. In fact, that is how we have gotten some of our cats.
I was wondering, yeah.
Gabe and Journey, who are over there, it's our white Bengal and our orange Bengal tiger. They were kept in Gilbert, Arizona. They were owned by a guy who was keeping them in his apartment.
Oh.
So I'm sure you guys can figure out that. Exactly. Your neighbor's going to find out pretty quickly, and you have 2 400-pound animals living in your apartment. But I'm going to be like that. Yeah, you're a tiger like that. I don't want to get too into. Yeah. So zoos get them the right way, right? We get them from rescues or we get them from other facilities. However, private owners usually get them through black market deals, stuff like that. The guy who got them was doing a job that wasn't the most legal, so that's how he was able to afford that.
Black market.
Yeah, usually. Now I'm gonna get Sage to stand just so you guys can see how tall he is. Sage.
So interesting.
When did you climb?
I know, I saw that. I was like, hey now.
Now, even though these guys can climb, as you see, we do have this little backdrop right here, and that is so that will bend, and they can't hold their own weight on that fence. So it's designed that way to do that.
Has a cat ever gotten out here? Because that was the first time I ever came here. I was like, this makes me a little nervous.
So
like how low the fences are.
Yeah, as far as I know, no, none of them have. I've only been working here for about 4 months. However, at my old job, because I don't work there anymore, I don't mind saying this out loud, we did have a lion get out.
Cool.
It was my 2nd week as an intern. I show up, my manager's like, get over here. I'm like, geez, what's wrong? And she goes, a lion got out. I was like, oh. Now, luckily, we had really good relationships with our cats there, so my manager just walked him right back into his enclosure. no problems.
Okay.
That's always good when you do free contact with your cats. Is if they get out. Oftentimes when they get out, it's like. It's not like, oh, I'm free. It's like, oh, God, what have I done?
Yeah.
Right? So they're looking for someone that they recognize. So when us comes up, they're going to be like, oh, good, I know that person. We're basically able to walk them right back in. So we don't really need to use tranquilizer darts or anything like that. Of course, we have those on standby, just in case.
Just in case.
But guys, that does it for today. We're going to be heading back to the
Behind
market area.
the fence.
All right, bye, Sage.
Bye, Sage.
I heard him purring. Did you hear him?
Yeah.
It's crazy. The cameras aren't like messing cats.
Well, especially when he walked up and we were like, oh. I was like, wait a second. Hang on.
All right, gotta give it up for Sage and Chip. It looks like Chip has wandered off. She's probably going to go take a nap. We do have straw for these guys once it starts getting into the colder months, so we usually pack their dens with straw to help keep them warm. But that does it for our Supermog. I want to thank you guys so much for coming out here and doing this. All the proceeds you give to the Supermogs, to doing the Supermogs, goes right back to our animals. We do not take in any sort of government funding, so all the proceeds we get from today will go right back to our animals. And while we are on the subject of leaving, I do want to real quick just remind you guys of that bar. It is still there. It is still probably going to grab somebody. So just keep low as you get off the mob. But if you did like this tour, like I said, my name is Lucas. However, if you did not really enjoy this tour and you would like to leave a bad review, my name is Isaiah. And I'm going to be hanging out